So we only have a very limited amount of time. So the beginning of our possible podcast recording with Bret, I'm going to be very quick and say that for those few of you who don't know, Bret is one of the amazing serial founders within Silicon Valley and has had a deep experience at Google, deep experience as a CTO at Meta, founded multiple companies, currently doing an AI company, and is always amazingly generous with his insights, whether it's technology, management, or what is the patterns of what are going on in Silicon Valley. So Bret, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So let's start with, what's your picture about what's going on with AI, kind of generally in the world and then in Silicon Valley?
I'm really excited about this current wave of AI. I think in Silicon Valley, we're prone to trends, and some of them—
I haven't noticed them, but
yes. We're like shiny object syndrome.
Yes.
Some of them I am less excited about, and this one, I think, even with the benefit of hindsight, decades from now, I think will warrant the level of excitement that we feel right now. I think that the emergence of large language models has made artificial intelligence, which is something that we've been talking about for decades, reach a level of utility and practical application in so many domains simultaneously that I think it really will transform the way we use software. My daughter is almost 15 and a half, which is the age in California where you get your learner's permit. And I am convinced that if it were 5 years from now, I would be chatting with an AI agent from my insurance company to add her to our insurance premium, not tapping around a website.
Yes.
I am convinced that students around the world, whether or not they have access to great schools, will be chatting with an AI agent to help tutor them in any domain that they're interested in, even if it's extremely esoteric or extremely complex. I'm convinced that, the next time someone gets a lease agreement from an apartment, they can put it into ChatGPT and get great legal advice for free in a situation that no one would actually spend money on hiring an attorney for.
And by the way, they can do that today.
Everything I described, you can do today. So as I look at these trends, I am incredibly optimistic about the future because of artificial intelligence. I think it will have an incredibly democratizing effect on education, on access to medical advice, on access to expertise, broadly speaking. And as it relates to Silicon Valley, and I'll just pause after this, so it's only 20 minutes, but I do think that the wave of excitement in Silicon Valley right now feels like the dot-com bubble. But you and I have talked extensively about this. I think the dot-com bubble was somewhat warranted. If you look at the top companies in the stock market today, how many of them were founded from 1995 to 2000? Amazon and Google alone represent a huge percentage of the stock market. If you look at all the insanity about how the information superhighway and how it's going to transform
pipes.
It was basically all true, right? It did transform commerce. Maybe Pets.com wasn't a great investment, but Amazon was.
Yes.
And you look at Webvan, and now you look at Instacart, DoorDash, all these other things. It didn't necessarily mean each individual company was transformational, but did the internet transform our lives as deeply as even the most frothy statements about .com? I think, the answer is yes. So I think it's important not to be cynical in these situations and recognize that there will be a lot of snake oil. There will be excess in investment. Lots of people will lose money. Lots of people will make money. And that's the game of Silicon Valley. But if you zoom out big picture, will this technology truly transform the way we live and work? I believe the answer is yes. And I think it's pretty exciting to be alive right now and for the next 10 years and see where it takes us.
100%.
And so, in our office, we are breathlessly following the next AI innovation. It feels like every day on our Slack channel, there's, did you see this? Did you see this? You're at the center of it. What is the next AI breakthrough that you're so excited about or waiting for, whether it's personally, professionally for Sierra?
I actually think that we will see continuous improvements in the quality and effectiveness of AI for the foreseeable future, with the one caveat that the foreseeable future is like 2 years. It is incredibly hard to predict the future right now, even for those of us in the middle of it. But broadly speaking, when I look at the inputs to what is driving the progress in large language models and the frontier models that I think have come to define AI right now, that there's we can go into lots of different directions about the applications of AI. It is first algorithms, so research insights. The most meaningful that probably Mustafa talked about yesterday was the birth of the transformers model, which was a architecture from Google that created sort of this current wave of excitement. But there's every month, every year, there's new breakthroughs like OpenAI using chain of thought and reinforcement around chains of thought, which is what powers the new O1 model. And I won't list them all, but with every new breakthrough and a new algorithm, you can take existing data and existing compute and create something that's more intelligent. So that's number one, is the algorithms. Number two is data. We are, some people think we're running up against the limits of the textual data that powers a lot of these models, but we have a wealth of video and image and audio data that I think we've really yet to capitalize on. Really smart researchers are focusing on things like simulation, which won't necessarily impact all domains, but if you think about things like self-driving or things like that, simulation has incredible applications. And then there's synthetic data generation, which is very nuanced, but I think there's a lot of really interesting applications there. And then the third thing is compute. And if you've looked at NVIDIA's stock price, you can see the level of investment in compute. And I think that even with existing algorithms, existing data, you can train in different ways longer. You can use inference in really interesting ways, as things like O1 have shown. And you can apply more compute and get more intelligence. So what's so exciting about that is that if you think about a scientific breakthrough where the obstacle to the next milestone is single-threaded, that's where you can really stall out, because you might lack the insight or technology to overcome that. When you have three separate and almost independent areas that you can make progress, if, for example, we run up into an architectural barrier on algorithms, you still have data and compute, and you can actually make progress there while you're figuring out the next architectural breakthrough. Or if, for example, the investment in compute stalls out because of the stress around CapEx, which I would feel if I were in the situation as well, you can take algorithmic breakthroughs and data breakthroughs to make progress. So the reason why I'm so optimistic over the foreseeable future, which is admittedly short for me, is that when you have three areas making progress independently and all the smartest people and the smartest capital investing in them, I think the likelihood that something stalls out is very low, just because I think we will make progress on one, two, or even all three of those things and continue to see the impressive breakthroughs that we're seeing almost on a weekly basis right now.
Awesome.
So let's give folks who don't know a quick précis on what you're doing with Sierra, and then talk about what the revolution with a voice means.
Yeah, thank you. I'm so proud of what we're doing at Sierra. So at Sierra, we help companies make customer-facing AI agents. So does anyone in the audience have a Sonos speaker? Yeah, a few. Well, next time you have a technical issue with it, which hopefully never happens, you'll chat with the Sonos AI, which will help you debug and figure out what's going on and help you fix it. Or if you have a family member setting up a Sonos speaker for the first time and has trouble with Wi-Fi, like seemingly all my family members, the Sonos AI will help you figure that out too. If you have
Did you arrange for your voice with your family members, or no?
Thankfully, no. If you have Sirius XM in your car and you want to upgrade or downgrade your plan, or figure out how to listen to the NFL, you'll chat with Harmony, which is an AI agent powered by our platform. We power for across retail, subscription services, help with sort of, I'll say, that frontline customer service, but really all parts of the customer experience. The reason why I think just last week, and thank you, Reid, for noticing our announcement last week, we announced that our agents will not only support chat, but also can answer the phone. I think this is a really big breakthrough in customer experience. For those of you who, probably many of you haven't run a call center before, but if you did, you would know one metric, which is your cost per contact, which is essentially the cost all in when someone calls you and you answer the phone. For most companies, answering the phone costs between $10 and $20. Which is really expensive. And it's mainly the wages of the people answering the phone. And it really depends on the complexity of the case and things like that. And that's been roughly true for a long time. You can optimize it down, but it's just an expensive way to interact with customers. And that's why for most companies, if you try to find their phone number, it's pretty hard. You know, when something costs $10, you need it to, essentially average out to roughly $10 of value back to you. And there's not that many customer interactions that are actually that valuable. So I think a lot of people think of AI as a mechanism to reduce costs, and certainly that's the basis of productivity enhancement in the economy. What I'm so excited about for AI for customer experience is if you can bring down the cost of a phone call from $10 to $20 to an order of magnitude or orders of magnitude less than that, how many more phone calls will you have with your customers? Will you go to someone's website and they'll just be like, call us anytime. And I think if for those of you
talk with us about anything almost.
Have a long conversation. Yes. No, we can laugh about it, but let's just put it this way. I think you're all geeks, right? So we're all geeks here. We're not, but imagine your family member trying to figure out why their Sonos speaker isn't working. Is it the Wi-Fi? Is it the hardware? Is it the software? Imagine not having to worry about being patient in that conversation.
Yes.
Like that, you can have the longest conversation ever.
Yes.
That is the most humane and empathetic thing possible. And I am so excited for that future. And so I think that often when you think about technologies, we often extrapolate from our current experiences and say, I'm going to go from talking to an IVR system, which is honestly the worst thing ever, press 4 for this, to talking to an AI, which is better. I'm actually excited for the second order effects, which is I think actually having interactive, personalized conversations with customers, even for consumer brands with tens of millions or hundreds of millions of consumers, will become commonplace. And I think that's going to be delightful. And I think we really haven't contemplated the implications of that. And broadly speaking, I think particularly those of you who run consumer companies, your AI agent will be just as important as your website in the future in terms of how you actually engage with your customers.
Actually more, but that's what you're saying.
Yes.
Yes.
I love how the main tagline is now your parents won't call you to set up your Wi-Fi. It's a really positive effect. And so
I'm speaking to the audience, okay?
Yes.
I have, no matter how advanced I go in my career, I go home for Thanksgiving, job number 1 is fix the Wi-Fi.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So to your point, this audience, we have a diverse group. We have leaders of NGOs. We have folks who are doing AI fashion companies. We have legacy businesses, people who are in trucking. How should each of these people in our audience think about customer service, including a chat agent in their business? What are the first steps? 15 years ago, like you said, oh my gosh, we need a mobile app strategy. How should they think about this next wave?
I like to start with customer experience more than customer service. We work with a large number of furniture retailers. And for those of you who have recently gotten furniture delivered to your house, you probably ended up on the phone for 20 minutes and you're trying to read your address and you're like, no, 2 words, Springbrook Road. It's a miserable experience. And I think starting with all the moments that matter in your business and thinking, could we have something that was always on 24/7 that could instantly solve those problems, and start there. Rather than starting with the highest volume cases, start with the cases that just aren't delightful. And I think it's interesting. Most of our AI agents, actually, this customer satisfaction score and NPS score of our AI agents exceeds that of the contact center. And it's not because the people in the contact center are doing a great job. It's because by the time you talk to them, you've been on hold. Right. So you're starting, already frustrated, right? And so the benefit of AI right now is it's multilingual, it's empathetic. With access to your systems, it can take action on your behalf. And if someone is having a negative moment with your brand, you can solve it instantly. And for those of you who've had moments like that, where a great associate solves your problem instantly, if you had something negative happening, it almost inverts your NPS score. You're like, wow, they solved my problem so quickly, I'm a loyal customer now. So that's really where I like to start, is pick the paper cuts in your customer experience and say, if we have an AI agent that can actually instantly solve that problem, how can we turn those negative moments into positive moments? And then broadly, I really like to just go through your customer journey from pre-sales, purchase consideration, all the way through a recent new customer, onboarding them into your product experience or service experience, to traditional customer service. Something went wrong, things like that. And just end to end saying, how can you, my co-founder Clay likes to call it paint by number. What's next? What's the next thing that we can do to make something like this? And I think it's really exciting. I mean, I think every company should have a customer-facing agent. For those of you, do you know Chubby's, the shorts brand? Have you found that? You got to check out their agent. He's named Duncan Smothers. And he is everything you'd hope Duncan Smothers would be. He's got some personality. And so, I mean, these agents they're fun, like this is a brand ambassador. This isn't just, providing action. So I think it's incredibly fun. And, it's interesting when I look at technologies, I love to think about the jobs that come out of it. For those of you as old as I am, if you remember in 1997, there was a job called webmaster. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
What a weird name, first of all. But now you fast forward, there's web designers, there's web architects, there's all these jobs that came out of it. I actually think that conversation designers will be as important as UI designers in the future. There will be folks in the customer experience side whose job it is to craft the behavior of these agents. A lot of our customers call that role AI architects, and they're not technologists by trade. They're on the customer experience side. So I'm just excited to see sort of pull this thread in the future. And if most of your customer interactions are happening with a conversation with an AI, what are all the new roles you have at your company to make that an exceptional experience? So that's super fun. We're right in the middle of it.
And never thought I would have Duncan Smothers on the podcast, but it is one of those amazing discoveries. Let's jump up a little bit, since we're kind of here live with a bunch of entrepreneurs at massive scale. A question that I get frequently, and I suspect you do too, around AI and entrepreneurship is, look, is it all just big companies frontier, or what is the role for entrepreneurs? And you exemplify as one of the instances of the fact that, as I also tell lots of parties, journalists, other folks, that there's tons of room for AI entrepreneurship, even as the frontier models tend to be built at massive scale by a few companies. Say a little bit about that and what the opportunities for entrepreneurship around AI are.
I will try not to be long-winded, but I'm going to start with how I view the market, because I think there's some nuance in what you said that's important for entrepreneurs seeing where's my place in this market. So I think the AI market will have echoes of the cloud market. So if you look at least my narrative around the cloud market, is you kind of had three specific domains. One was infrastructure as a service. So these are companies like Amazon Web Services, Microsoft Azure, Google Cloud, Oracle, that are essentially investing a ton of CapEx to build data centers and then lease out that hardware to companies building software. And then you have makers of tools. So these are people selling pickaxes in the gold rush. Like, if you're moving to the cloud, what are the tools and technologies that you need? It's tools like Snowflake or Databricks or Confluent, things like that. And then you have applications companies or solutions companies, software as a service. And obviously, the one I'm most loyal to is Salesforce, where I spent a large part of my career. But there's ServiceNow, Shopify, Adobe. There's a really, really long tail of really specialized solutions for everything from procurement to managing marketing spend. I think the same thing will play out roughly in AI, where we will have a very small number of companies building frontier and foundation models that will be companies that have the capital to have huge capital expenditures to invest in the compute to train these models. They will monetize it by, some will monetize it through consumer products, but I think a large number of them will monetize it by leasing it out to folks like Sierra and all of you to take advantage of that technology. There'll be a number of companies that provide tools. If you're building AI-first software, what are the tools and technologies that you need for evaluation? Companies like Scale AI, sort of are really meaningful players in this space. And then there will be a very large number of people making solutions. And that's companies like Sierra. Engineers on our team use Cursor as a coding co-pilot. There's companies like Harvey that are creating legal solutions around AI. And I actually think that I am probably most excited and admittedly biased, but as it relates to entrepreneurship in applications and solutions. If you look at the past 2 decades of software, we've broadly moved from companies thinking, I should build software, to understanding that software is like a lawn. It needs to be tended to. And the moment a company builds software, they've essentially created debt that they will need to pay off for eternity. Yes. And as a consequence, most companies don't want to build their own software. And most who have, 10 years later, replace it with a software as a service solution. Yes. And the reason for that is it's just rational. Companies should focus on what the value they provide their customers. And I think it's no coincidence that there's such a meaningful long tail of really, I think, high-scale companies in this spirit of masters of scale, providing very specialized solutions to very specialized buyers within companies that just want to solve their problem. And I think that we're just in the early days of AI. So, 2 years ago, if you wanted to build something with large language models, all you could do is license a model directly. Now, and especially 2, 3, 4 years from now, I think most companies would prefer to buy a solution to their problems, not buy technology. And I don't think that fundamental truth will change. So I think there's a lot of opportunity in tools. I think there's relatively little opportunities in training foundation models unless you're one of the big players or one of the big research labs in partnerships with the big players. But I think there is infinite opportunity in building solutions to people's problems that are facilitated by this amazing new technology.
I agree.
And so Reid hit the nail on the head for one of the questions we get the most. But another question that we get from people on Possible is like, oh, I love this amazing pro-technology future. It's so exciting. I'm an entrepreneur. But I'm also a parent, and I'm so scared for my kids. And the other night, we were talking about what you would tell, as a parent, what you would tell your kids to do differently. So you're a parent, it's this AI future, a lot of people in the audience are. What do you tell them about how to parent or what their kids should be doing or talking about? What's that advice?
In addition to Duncan Smothers.
So I get this question a lot, and the questions are usually quite pointed, like, are software engineers going away? Should my child still study computer science? Yes. First of all, I just want to say I'm extremely optimistic about the future. At dinner 2 nights ago, we're having a great conversation, and I made the point that in 1776, when this country was founded, the vast majority of people were farmers. And in fact, it's a big part of the sort of founding story of this country, the abundance of land and farming and land ownership. You fast forward, to now, and we've gone through 2 meaningful changes in our economy. First was the Industrial Revolution, where some things were automated, a lot of people work in manufacturing, and now most economists would say we're a services economy, just by where the majority of Americans work. I would love to be able to interview Ben Franklin and describe our economy and see his reactions. like, what do people do? I don't get it. How is working in a restaurant sustain an economy? I don't get it. And
what is this podcasting thing?
Yeah, you're a podcaster? I don't get it. And I think it's partly because we define our existence through the lens of our lived experience with the jobs that are available, and we've transformed many times as an economy, and it's hard, by the way. It's if you look at the displacement in jobs and the Rust Belt. I don't want to pretend it's transitions are easy, and I think it would be completely insensitive to do so. But the idea that we're giving up one thing and a new thing isn't created, I just don't truly believe. I think that we are incredibly creative, and I think we will create new jobs that will be high leverage, high impact, and I'm really excited to be wowed 50 years from now by what our economy looks like and all the new jobs that will just be as foreign to me as perhaps podcasting would be to Benjamin Franklin, because I think it's really exciting. So when I think about my kids, and I've got 3 kids, I come from the old school world where I think education is about learning how to think. And I think if there's anything that's important in an age of rapid technology advancement, it's not to become ossified in our tools. And what we do and how we do it does not define who we are. And I think the uncomfortable thing will be in our careers, I think will be an imperative that we reskill and we learn new trades. We're an accountant and the spreadsheet was just invented, you know? And if you're still on a slide rule 4 years from now, that's not great.
Yes.
But if you're the first in your office to learn how to use Excel, you're going to be the most important person in the accounting department. And I know that's a trite example, but I think that's going to impact all of our jobs. And I think it's exciting. And I think a lot of the entrepreneurs in this room, if you can create tools and technologies that enable people who aren't experts to embrace these technologies, I think it's an incredible opportunity.
And the other thing that's great about this particular revolution is that AIs can help you with the reskilling, as per agents, voice, and a bunch of other things, and parental Thanksgiving visits. So with that, Bret, thank you very much. It's awesome as always.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.